Hello, everybody. It's Dr. J. How is everyone doing today? And welcome to another live stream here today as we continue the celebration of National Entrepreneurship Month. I'm very, very excited. Just making sure this thing is working. And so I want to thank you all for being here. I was supposed to do this presentation last week, but I had something going on. So definitely excited here to be part of this. So again, I'm Dr. J, and we're talking about feasibility analysis, right? And we're going to talk about what in the world that is when we talk about feasibility analysis. So we'll get into that. But before we do that, I am going to, of course, thank our sponsors for making this possible. Brain Fuel. Check out Brain Fuel. Make sure you check that out. I'm going to make sure you check that out, Brainfield. And of course, when you go, use promo code Dr. J at checkout for a discount. So Brainfield is an amazing energy drink that really fuels you up. And I kid you not, it really does fill you up. You don't even have to drink the whole bottle. I mean, it's really that good. Of course, serve it, drink it chill. It's really better when it's chilled. LearnGenix, online, of course, learning and development solutions company. Thank you for LearnGenix. And of course, the Entrepreneurial Mindset Academy that provides of course, the research and the materials to make this happen. So thank you to the Entrepreneurial Mindset Academy for making this a possibility. And so real quick, for me, I'm a scholar and educator, also a certified practitioner of the entrepreneurial mindset profile. And in the first slide you saw, of course, as well, certified to do the innovator mindset. And of course, an entrepreneurial mindset program facilitator. So check out my website if you want to learn more about me. So I've been teaching entrepreneurship. I teach entrepreneurship. I've been part of startups. And I do have my master's in entrepreneurship from Oklahoma State University. I've been teaching her for a number of years in education for a very long number of years. So I do have some knowledge about this stuff, right? Anywho, so we'll begin about defining a feasibility analysis. So what is that and how do we go about doing that? So let's say you have a startup idea, right? And let's say it just happened out of nowhere, or you've been in the class or work or whatever it may be, and you come up with this business idea. When you come up with the business idea, you have to make sure it's viable and it's feasible for the marketplace. A lot of people have ideas, but not all these ideas are actually going to work in a marketplace. And if you do put an idea on the marketplace and not go through this feasibility analysis, you may find it disheartening or heartbreaking when you find out that the market doesn't even care about your product. Um, so make sure that you are able to be part of this, and of course, make sure that you go through this process. Um, and so the first thing is about process of determining if a business idea is viable, right? You have to make sure that it's viable. That's what defining what a feasibility analysis is. Of course, there's sequential steps to it, and of course, you have to lays out the foundation for a well-reasoned and research business plan. So the first thing about when do you do a feasibility analysis, right? After you identify a business idea, you move forward if the results are favored, right? So after you come up with a business idea, you're going to decide whether or not the idea is going to move forward to the next stage, which is actually implementing and creating the business, right? And so these are the four steps. These are the four types of analysis that you're going to do. You're going to do a product or service analysis, an industry target market analysis, an organizational management, team analysis, and a financial assessment. So these four steps can go really in detail, but for this presentation, I'm just going to touch on the basics of it for your business idea. Want this feasibility analysis. So the first part is the product service feasibility, right? If you're selling a product, right? Whether it's like a tangible product, like a drink or clothes or whatever, or service, right? Whether you're doing some type of digital marketing or well, other types of services, right? Lawn cutting or, you know, all those type of services. You have to find out if there is desirability in the marketplace, right? You know, does it make sense? Do people even is it desirable in the marketplace, right? And of course, when you do your research on this, right, does it make sense? Is it reasonable? Will consumers get excited about the product or service? I think one tip I would say that when you are doing this type of product or service feasibility is that you're better off going and talking to potential customers instead of your family and friends. The reason I say that is because family and friends are probably not the best thing because a lot of your family members are going to tell you, "Oh yeah, that's great," but in reality, they're not going to give you the real analysis of it. And so you have to really go talk to strangers. I remember Damon John, if you guys remember, he is the founder of Fubu, and he's one of the folks on Shark Tank. He said that he went out to the streets and actually put this out to talk to complete strangers whether or not they would actually really buy his product. And I think that's the best way to do it. And the funny thing is that a lot of people are really scared of doing that. A lot of people don't want to go talk to complete strangers to see if their business or product will even be viable. But that's what you got to do. And then, of course, you'll do an industry and target market feasibility analysis, right? So you're going to go out and do an industry analysis, right? Industry analysis, of course, is the industry, the shoe industry, for example. Is it large, growing, young, and fragmented, and has low operating margins? So it's very important to know if it's a large market and it's a growing market. You don't want to get into an industry where it's not growing, it's small and it's very old. For example, like the newspaper industry, right? That's a declining market. A lot of newspapers have shuttered or closed or consolidated. You want to get into a market again that's large, growing, young, fragmented, and has low operating margins. You don't want to get into an industry where the operating margins are extremely high because it's going to be very difficult to make money. Structurally attractive, right? Low barriers to entry, easy to enter and compete, in favor of environmental and business trends. You don't want to get into an industry with a lot of high regulations, and there's no favorable environment, right? So you have to see if the business trend is favorable. If you're getting into an industry where it's heavily regulated, like the financial industry, you have to be very careful. If you get into an industry that's highly regulated, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. You're gonna have to know what you're doing, and it's gonna be an uphill battle. The target market, for example, right, which is a limited portion of this industry, right? For example, children's shoes is an example of a target market, very specific from the industry. The ideal target market is large enough for new businesses to be profitable and small enough to avoid head-to-head competition with the industry leaders. For example, if you said, I want to start my own shoe company, you're going to have a major, major battle ahead of you, right? It's going to be, you're going up against like the Nikes, the Adidas, and the Pumas of the world, which will probably destroy you or consolidate you or gobble you up and buy you out. So you have to be very careful as to what specific target market you're going to get into. The organizational feasibility. One of the things that or one of the things that venture capitalists or anybody who's going to fund in your company or is going to invest in your startup company is that they want to know who is part of your team. If your team doesn't have much management experience, they're probably going to rethink whether or not they're going to invest in your company. Now that's not going to stop them, but they may want to have like, hey, before I totally invest in your company, I'm going to want to see someone who has experience in the industry. And that happens too. Like a lot of times when college kids are coming up with startups, as a college student, you don't have a lot of management experience. So you have to get somebody to be part of your team who has that management experience because that person is going to be very helpful once you go into an industry for connections or knowing what to do in certain situations. right? So investors are going to want to see to make sure that the management team is suitable enough so they can put their investment, because they need to trust somebody with their money that they're going to make it back. Um, Plus, someone who has like 20 years of experience in the industry, knows the ins and outs, has a professional social networks, it's going to get you to, get that phone call or email answered much more quickly than someone who has no experience that doesn't know many people. So management experience does very matter. So you're gonna have to see like who part of our team has that management experience. um, so even though you may want to say, yeah, I've been working, all my college years at a store, that's not enough management experience for investors. They want to see, again, somebody who has 15, 20 plus years in a certain industry that your market is, what your startup's getting into. They want to see that, right? And be part of the day-to-day operations, not just some business advisor that's going to be there whenever. Like, they want to see that particular management person be there on a day-to-day basis. So you have to think about that as well. And then the important one too is the financial feasibility, right? Do we have enough startup cash to do this? Is it feasible enough to financially? You have to really think about how much money you're going to need to invest in your company, how much money you're going to need, and of course the whole financial attractiveness of the proposed venture. So you're going to have to really think about how much money do we need, and are we going to be able to make this bit money back? So you have to have a financial feasibility, and have it reasonable too, right? If you're asking for like $100 million, like this thing better be like the next Facebook or something, because investors are gonna be like, why do you need $100 million for? Um, and so you have to be reasonable as well. But you can't ask for too much, but you can't ask for too little, right? That's of course, that's where the experience comes in. That's where, of course, the management experience comes in, because that management experience of the people who have experience in the particular field are going to have a better understanding of how much capital is needed in order to successfully get this thing going, right? So you have to think about that. So what's next? So, and this slide is a little soggy there, but all after you pass all four phases at all the four feasibility analysis stages, then you can move on to the next start, and then you can move on to actually going and launching the startup. Now, of course, this is not the end all be all. If you pass 2 out of 3 or 3 out of the 4, it doesn't mean that your business idea sucks or that's never going to make money, right? That's what the marketplace is really about. I mean, you can pass 2 out of the 3 or the 4 of the analysis, go out to market and kill it on the market, or you can pass all four analysis, get into the market, and then completely fail. That, at the end of the day, you're going to have to go out into the market and see what's going to happen. But at least I would strongly encourage you to complete these analysis, so that you know what you have ahead of you and that you can see any red lights coming up and you can fix those before officially launching into the marketplace. You want to be able to correct your mistakes before you get out there and, do more harm than good for your product or service. So I highly encourage you to do all those things. So thank you all. Follow me on social media. Follow me on my YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe this channel and share with everybody else. And until next time, as we continue on to with more videos, and of course, we have another one coming up next week to finish off this National Entrepreneurship Month. Thank you all, and see you next time.